Alright, today in class we learned about slope. So we have a couple of objectives. We're going to find the slope of a line, we're going to draw a line given a slope, and then we're going to find the slope of a line given 2 points that lie on the line. So first of all, slope is a rate of change. It's positive if it slants upward, or negative if it slopes downward, and a lot of times slope refers to the steepness of a line. So this would have what's called a positive slope. This one's negative. If we have a line that is horizontal, we say it has a 0 slope, and if we have one that's vertical, we say this is undefined. Okay, a lot of times we talk about slope in terms of a formula. Slope is the same as rise over run. I give an example. If I am sitting in my chair and I have to get from point A to B, I have to rise before I can walk. So we have to move, this means we're going to move vertically. Before we move horizontally. Okay, I'm going to give you some formulas. I'm not going to expect you to memorize them today, but we will tomorrow. So the first formula, we have y sub 1 minus y sub 2 over x sub 1 minus x sub 2. This m just represents slope. And this is how we find slope if we're given two ordered pairs. Notice that the y values are in the numerator, the x values are in the denominator, and that the y1 is above the x1, that they are lined up. Now, the other formula I give you that looks very similar to this. In fact, the only thing that is different is that we will start with the y2 and the x2 on the bottom instead of starting with the y1 and the x2, or the x1 there. So I will actually only ask you to memorize one, but I wanted to show you that you can use either formula and you'll come up with the same answer. Okay, we have 4 different kinds of slopes. The first one is a positive slope. When you solve for it, m will have to be greater than 0, and another way to describe this is that it is rising from left to right. The next one is a negative slope. It slants downward. And we say it falls. M has to be less than 0. Our third type of slope, and I showed you this on the slide earlier, is a 0 slope. Okay? This means that when you solve for m, m actually equals 0, and the type of line that will give you this type of slope will look like y equals 4, or y equals negative 2. It'll just say y equals, and a way to describe it is to say that it's horizontal. The last type of slope we'll talk about is undefined. It's a vertical line, and this occurs when you get m equals some number. Here I have 4 divided by 0. Now we know we cannot divide by 0, so we say that this is undefined. And this will occur when you have an equation that says x equals 2. In this case it looks like x equals negative 2. Okay, here I'm going to ask you to find and describe the slope of each line. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick some points on the line. I'm going to pick this one and say this one. And I'm going to count here. This says a plus 2 to go up, and to go over it's a positive 2. And I always do the vertical distance over the horizontal distance. So for our slope, we would say we were rising 2 as we ran 2. So we went up 2 over 2. Now this can reduce to give us 1 over 1. We could have picked any other points. Say we had picked this point here and this point here. This would take us up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that 8 over 8 would still reduce to 1 over 1. So it really does not matter which 2 points we pick. In the long run, they will reduce to the same ratio. So we had 8 over 8, which equals 1 over 1. Okay, so on our second one, I'm going to pick this point right here. I'm also going to pick this point right here. I'm I'm going to start at the bottom point. It really doesn't matter which one you start from, but I like to start on the lower one. So this says we're going to rise 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go back 2. So our slope for that line is up 3, back 2. Now that negative does not matter. It could be negative 3 over 2. As long as it's with one, it cannot be with both. If it goes with both we get a negative over a negative, which is a positive, and this obviously is a negative slope. So below this we would not only talk about what the slope actually is, but we would say this has a negative slope while A had a positive slope. Okay, example 2 says you're going to draw the line with the given slope. So this says we have a slope of 3/5. With this, it does not matter where we start. We can start anywhere on our graph. I'm going to start, say, here, and then I'm going to apply that slope, which says I have to rise 3 and then go over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we draw that line. Our second example says we have negative 2. Whenever you're given slope that's not a fraction, we're going to create the fraction by putting it over 1. So again, it doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to start here, and then it says I'm going to go down to forward 1. Down to forward 1. And then draw that line. Okay, this says to graph a line comparing salary to hours worked if you earn $10 an hour. So the first thing I'm going to do is label this graph. I'm going to say that across the bottom, these are the hours. So 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hours, and then 6 hours. Over here, I'm going to label this as the salary, or the dollars they get per hour. So for the dollars, it doesn't matter how you label this. I'm going to go by tens. We could have gone by 5s. I wouldn't, oh, whoops. We could have gone by 5s. Definitely not by 1s, though. We wouldn't ever get up to 10 on this graph. So the first thing is if I were to work 0 hours, I would get $0. After 1 hour, it's $10. After 2, it's 20 hours. After 3, it's $30. After 4 hours, it's 40. And you can see that this continues in that constant slope, that constant rate, and that creates a straight line. Okay, good luck. You'll be working on your 4-3 slope worksheet.